Hey folks, I'm Nate. I'm a technical marketing manager for Red Hat Enterprise Linux. And if you're running Red Hat Enterprise Linux 7 on Microsoft Azure without support, you're going to want to watch this video. What do you mean without support? That's what you're saying, right? Well, here's what I mean. So Red Hat Enterprise Linux 7 at the end of June in 2024 went end of maintenance. Now, what that means is Red Hat Enterprise Linux 7 continues to run, but you're not getting any more updates from it. However, we do offer a solution for that, which is called Extended Lifecycle Support, or ELS. What ELS does is for an additional 2 or 4 years, depending on how you want to pay for it, will give you critical and important bug fix and security advisories backported to RHEL 7. So if you've got a workload that's running on RHEL 7 that you just can't migrate to RHEL 8 yet, or wherever you want to move it, this will help keep you covered and keep you within compliance. Now, there's been ways to buy ELS for several versions of RHEL at this point. I don't know when they started, but I know they existed for RHEL 6 and RHEL 5 and maybe even 4. But with RHEL 7, we realized that there's a lot more cloud customers than there used to be. And you may not be interested in buying a yearly subscription for extended lifecycle support. You might want an hourly billed extended lifecycle support subscription to add to your cloud instances, because that's how people run things in the cloud. So what we did is we came up with a way for anybody in the cloud to purchase extended lifecycle support through your cloud marketplace. And then there's a little bit of configuration that has to happen on your server to make it actually report that it's using ELS. And then we'll bill you right through your cloud provider, the same way you're used to getting billed for everything else. The intention of this video is to help you learn how to configure your Microsoft Azure virtual machine running Red Hat Enterprise Linux 7 to use extended lifecycle support in this new hourly metered way, using a service that runs on your RHEL box that then reports back to us so that we can send your usage back to your cloud provider so that everybody's happy. Okay, so let's get to work. Now, you're going to need a couple of things. First of all, you're going to need, of course, RHEL 7 systems to actually go ahead and set up with extended lifecycle support, but I'm assuming you've already got those. Otherwise, why would you be here? The next thing you're going to need is permission in your Azure console to purchase things through the Azure Marketplace, because the way we set up the billing is you have to buy an offering in the Azure Marketplace, and then that'll link your Azure account to your Red Hat account. Now, I said Red Hat account. That means you're going to need a Red Hat account too. However, don't worry about that. We're going to talk about that in a minute if you don't have one or if you don't know what it is. All right, so here we are at the console of one of my RHEL 7 systems. In fact, my only RHEL 7 system running on Microsoft Azure. If we do a yum check update right now, you're going to see that there's no updates available for this machine. That's because I have updated this, you might say, moments ago before I started recording this video. And the reason for that is it's best to start with a system that's fully up to date. Now, I understand that in a production environment, you may not be able to make sure that your system is 100% up to date before you get started. But if you can, it's highly recommended. There is one package that you do need to make sure is fully up to date. We'll talk about that in a minute. All right, so you can see check update says, nope, there's nothing. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to show you how to buy that marketplace listing. All right, so once I'm at the Azure Marketplace, I want to search the marketplace for ELS, which stands for Extended Lifecycle Support. And it's going to show me everything that includes the letters ELS. But in my case, luckily at the top here, I've got the listings that I'm looking for right here. Now, if I wanted to filter this down to just Red Hat, I could do publisher name, Red Hat Inc. And there we go. There's Red Hat Inc. So that's the one you want. Now, if you click on this little subscribe button, it'll let you subscribe to it, but I'm going to suggest that you click on the listing first, because there's things in here like terms about how this works and what it's going to cost, and you're probably going to want to be familiar with that before you go ahead and just buy it. In my case, I'm going to click the subscribe button because I already know what I'm getting into. Now, this takes me to, like, where do I want to subscribe? This makes me pick my subscription and what resource group. You're going to want to select whatever resource group your RHEL 7 systems are in. If you have more than one, I presume you'd have to buy the listing, or you'd have to subscribe to the listing for each resource group, unless there's some way to set it to more than one at a time. I'm not sure. All right, you can give it a name. This is because in your resource group, it's going to show up as an item, right? And that item needs a name. We'll call it meter DLS. And I think that's everything we need to do. Recurring billing is turned on. It gives me an idea of what it'll cost. Now we're going to click the subscribe button. And now what it's going to do is it's actually going to tell Azure, I'd like to subscribe to this thing. And it takes a couple minutes for it to, I shouldn't say minutes, it takes a little bit of time for it to actually do the subscription. This little dots up here that are flashing, that tells you that it's working on it. So once it's done, we need to click on this button down here at the bottom that says configure account now. And you can see it just finished. You see the little dots turned into a green check mark. Green check marks are good, right? But it is giving us a warning that says that you have to complete the account linking once you're done. So we're going to click on this configure your account now. What this does is it takes me over to the hybrid cloud console at Red Hat. And this is where you're going to need that Red Hat account. Now, I already have a Red Hat account, so it logged me right into it. If you do not have a Red Hat account, or if you're not already logged into it, it's going to bring you instead to a login page here before you can actually get to this acceptance button that I'm about to press. On that login page, at the bottom, there will be a link that says register for an account if you don't already have one. If you can't remember the password for your account, there's a recover password link as well. If you think your organization has an account, but you don't know the email address or whatever that it was registered under, you're going to have to hunt that down because there's not an easy way to find that right there on the page. So we're going to say, I've read and agreed to the terms, and click Connect Accounts. This is connecting your Microsoft Azure account to your Red Hat login so that Red Hat can take the billing information that's reported about your ELS usage and send it to Microsoft so that it can show up in your Azure bill, right? This is basically what links the two. And then it brings us to this very helpful documentation. Now, I want to call out one thing on this documentation, and that is in step 1 here, it says we have to enable hourly metering, and it takes us to a second document about how to get that done. This document can get somewhat complex. There are 2 different ways to configure the hourly billing. The first way is to set up an integration from the hybrid cloud console to Microsoft. And that, what it'll do is it'll allow you to tag your systems on Azure, and those will report back to Red Hat. You don't have to make any changes at all on your servers. That's a little more complicated, and that's not the setup I'm covering in this video. In this video, we're going to talk about the second option, which is enabling the host metering service. So let me find it here. How to meter when you've chosen the host metering service. We're going to go through and set up the host metering service instead, because in this case, it's easier. Personally, I think it's the method that's going to be easier for people to run through. And unless you have a requirement that says I cannot put anything new on these servers except for updates, then this is going to be, I think, a better way for you to get this configured. It's just easier to get set up. There's less moving pieces, and at the end of the day, it's just going to be a better way for you to go. So I'm not going to go step by step through these particular instructions by going back and forth in the screen share. What I'm going to do is I'm going to jump over to my terminal and just get the steps done. There are also some steps in the documentation which we're working on updating, because some of them, they're not going to hurt you if you do them, but they're no longer required because some of the tooling that's involved here has been updated, and it can do things like get this extended lifecycle certificate all by itself, right? So that's actually a benefit for you. It's just at the time of recording this video, the documentation hasn't been updated yet. We're getting to that. So just follow along what I'm doing, and you'll end up with a working system at the other end. Okay, here we are back at my RHEL 7 system. You can see it's still at the same prompt that it was at when we checked for updates before, but I'm going to clear that so that we can start from a clean slate. So the first thing we need to do is, this is that package I was telling you earlier that you will definitely have to make sure is up to date if the rest of your system hasn't already been updated, and that's the Subscription Manager package. There's pieces in the Subscription Manager package that make all this work, and if you're not on the latest version and the documentation calls out what version that is, If you're not on the latest version, then you may run into some issues. So what you want to do to do just that package is yum update subscription dash manager. Okay, and mine's going to tell me it's already up to date. If yours doesn't and updates it, then you may have just avoided some problems. So let's give this a moment to come back and say nothing. There you go. No packages marked for update. Okay, the next thing we need is to actually subscribe our system directly to Red Hat. Now, you might say, if my system wasn't subscribed, how was I getting updates? Well, that's because you get them from your cloud provider. Now that we're in the extended lifecycle phase of Red Hat Enterprise Linux 7, you have to get it from Red Hat because that's where those packages live. So we have to use Subscription Manager to tell RHEL to talk to us, right? So we do Subscription Manager register. So for me, this is tmm-nlegger. For you, it's probably going to be more like your email address. I'm going to paste in my password, and there we go. It's going to say this system's been registered. Okay, so now that we've got it subscribed, we can continue with the rest of the setup. The next thing we need to do is install the host metering service. So we do that in the same way. Let's, again, clear the screen here. Let's do yum install host dash metering, if you can spell metering. And it's going to go find all the dependencies for the host metering service and let us confirm at the end whether we want to install it or not. Okay, so there it is, giving us the packages that are going to be installed to confirm. Hit Y. If you did a -Y when you did the yum command, it also would have just said yes to all, but I forgot to. Sorry. Okay, so now it's going to actually go through and install the packages. Real exciting stuff right here, right? So let's just give it a minute. And once it's done, all that's left is to actually enable and start the host metering service. I'm going to show you how to get that done in just a moment. Okay, so there it is. Let's clear the screen again. If you do a system CTL enable, okay, that tells it to enable the host metering service at boot. We also want to do -- now, which tells it also start it now. Otherwise, you'd have to then do another command to start it, or reboot, which would be silly. Host -metering. Okay? And there we go. It's the service should now be running. We do a status on host metering. It should give us a nice green active there, right? It's active, it's loaded, it gives us a process ID, gives us what slice it's running in systemd. That tells us that the thing is up and running. It even gives us some output here that says that, look, it's the billing model is marketplace, it's on Azure, right? So this is like warm fuzzies right here. This tells us the service is working, okay? The things that make all of this work, all the back-end work, are now set up. All that's left to do now is to actually enable the extended lifecycle support repository, which is where you get your software updates from. Now, let me just grab that out of our documentation because it makes it easier than typing it. The first thing we have to do is tell Subscription Manager that Subscription Manager is allowed to manage repositories. Now, in a cloud instance, this is usually turned off because you're not using Subscription Manager repositories. You're using cloud provider provided repositories. This changes it back to the standard mode, which is that it can, in fact, manage repositories. And then we're going to turn on the repository. So let me grab that command and put that command here in the terminal, and it's Subscription Manager repos, which stands for repositories, enable RHEL 7 server ELS RPMs. Okay, now if we hit enter, it's going to turn on that repository. This takes a moment, so just give it a second. Okay, there we go. Look, RHEL 7 server ELS RPMs is enabled for this system. Now, if I did another yum check update, it should tell us that there's a bunch of updates from the ELS repository that are waiting to be installed on this machine, because since June 30th, there have been updates to RHEL 7. So if you've got RHEL 7 servers that aren't running ELS, well, you might have some security vulnerabilities on your system that you're not aware of. This is here to help you fix them. All right, so there we go. Bang! We got a bunch of available updates for this system. You can see these are all coming from the same repository, the RHEL 7 server ELS RPMs. So now if I did a yum update -y, it'll go through and actually say, yeah, go ahead and install those updates. While this is going ahead and installing its updates, I want to show you one more thing on the hybrid cloud console. So let's switch back. Okay, so we're going to go to console.redhat.com, and on console.redhat.com, this is where you'll find things like Red Hat Insights, the Insights Image Builder, our compliance and vulnerability services. These are all really good things that you should know about and maybe go explore, but that's not the point of this video. In this video, the whole point is to show you how to get ELS set up, how to see that you're being billed for it, okay? And that's what I want to show you now. In the hybrid cloud console, underneath services here, if you go down to the bottom and go to subscriptions and spend, and then at the top of the applications list, you'll see Red Hat Enterprise Linux and subscriptions usage. We're going to click on subscription usage, and it's going to bring you to the thing we call Subwatch, right? But it's actually the subscriptions usage dashboard, right? And it brings you by default to the core RHEL for x86 listing. And this will be any RHEL that you've purchased will show up in this list. Any RHEL that you're using will show up in this list. Now you can see I've got quite a lot. It's because I'm on an employee account. Yours will probably be a lot smaller, maybe a lot bigger. It depends on what size organization you're in and how you're buying and paying for RHEL. But what I wanted to show you was how to see that your extended lifecycle support add-on is actually billing you. Now, this won't show up immediately. For me, it's going to be here because I set up a system yesterday specifically so that I would have data in this list to show you right now. But what will happen is within the next 24 hours, that host metering service will tell the hybrid cloud console that that system that I just set up is using ELS and that it needs to be tracked. And it'll show up underneath in this variant drop-down list. You'll see there are a bunch of different types of subscriptions you can filter by. And you'll see there's one that says ELS annual. Now that's traditional ELS. That's the way we have sold it for years, which is that you buy a yearly subscription for ELS and you rebuy it every year that you need it, that sort of thing. That's why it says annual. On demand is what we just configured with this hourly billing setup. So if you select this RHEL for x86 ELS on demand, it'll give you a graph that looks a little more like what I've got here. Now, obviously, one, you'll get the data within about 24 hours of when you set up the system. And two, you'll have a lot more systems in this list if you set up more than one, or you'll have fewer systems in this list if you've only done the one. If you just set up 100 systems, this number is going to be a lot bigger for you. But my point is that this is telling me that the host metering service is working, and it's reporting back to the hybrid cloud console. And really, that's it. That's all there is to getting this set up. I know I was very verbose with a lot of this, but it really is a simple setup. You buy that listing, you link it to your Red Hat account, you do some subscription manager changes on your system, and then you install and enable that host metering service. And then, of course, turn on the repository. It can really be boiled down to those 5 steps. I hope you've found this video informative, and I hope that this has demystified some of the configuration steps for how to get this set up and working. I know there's a few moving pieces here. If you've liked the video, please hit the like button. If you like this kind of content, you should check out other things that we have on this channel. We do a weekly live stream where we're literally dropping into the terminal. It's called Into the Terminal, where we're giving examples of how to do things on RHEL. We try to do it in a very teacher-oriented way so that you can actually learn something on your Friday afternoon. And of course, we have a lot more tech content just like this video that shows you just how to do things that are common tasks in RHEL. So check those out if you're interested in that. And with that, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.